So what I want to do today, this is a split session day. I have to go shopping in BJ's or I'm going to run out of toilet paper. I wanted to try to get the front end of this up on the come along and get the front wheel pulled before I have to go to BJ's. The whole idea of this is to get this wheel down in the cellar where it's a lot warmer. Let the wheel warm up overnight and it'll be a lot easier to pull the tire off. Actually, it's a good tire. I ought to save the tire, but I'm going to put a new one on anyway. I always try to use, I have two come-alongs in the shop. I always try to use one just as a safety thing, just in case somebody comes in here, a mouse comes in here and touches the bike and phew. Anyway, if I get that pulled off on this morning, I'll be one happy guy. And the problem is when Karen decides, and she does from time to time, we either have a doctor visit or a trip for groceries or food or bananas or something in the middle of the day, I've got to try to plan something to do in the morning and something to do when I get back. And then something before the baby gets here. So maybe a 3-session day. Now I have a mechanical come along and the electric one. Now I don't want to use the electric one because what it's going to do, this wheel is going to be off the bike maybe for a week or 2 weeks. And we're supposed to get some weather that's going to warm up, and I just make it more convenient if I want to pull one of these bikes out and take a ride. Or if it really warms up, I want to run all the bikes for their usual, their little exercise thing. I let each one of them run for about 10 minutes outside, wipe them down, take a little bit of McGuire's, put it on there, clean them up. Try to keep them ready. Just the other day, we had an unexpected nice warm day. We got a ride in. And hopefully there'll be others. Meantime, if I can get that wheel off, and it really is not a big deal to get the wheel off, I just have to do it, and it's really cold. So once I got that jacked up, and of course the electric come along is a lot more convenient, but now with this in position, if we do get a warm day, I'm always trying to leave the back door open here in case we do get another day to ride. You never know when that's coming now. Well, the first thing is to pull the brake calipers off, hang them up with some zip ties, take the cotter pin out of the axle, loosen the axle bolt. There's 4 bolts up in the front, and the front wheel will come right off. Now with the calipers off, it's always a good idea to check and see how much material is left on the brake pads. In this case, looks like we got a couple more, well, maybe at least one more season out of these pads. Always a good thing to check it though anytime you have the front end apart. And we'll clean this all up, of course, once the wheel is off. Now what I always do, I have my zip ties handy, get this up out of the way. It's going to be a lot more convenient if that's not in the way. Now putting these on when the wheels have been polished or painted is a little bit of you got to really spread the pads and really be careful. In fact, in my case, after these wheels are painted, I'll put some blue tape on there just to protect it. It is a little tricky getting that on. And I always leave the bolts and the spacers and the nuts and everything that go on this side of the bike, and what comes off the other side on the other side. Just makes it a little bit easier. We ought to put it back together. So the wheel is off, and the less of this we can do out in the garage where it's cold and the more in the cellar, the better. So we'll bring that down in the cellar. I have some, and I've mentioned this tip before, all the parts that go on this side of the motorcycle and the tools to do the job. Tools and parts for that side. I'll clean those parts up now while I have them apart. look around for anything that's needs a little polish, needs a little cleaning. It looks like we have another season on those brake calipers on the pads, so that'll be one thing we could save a few bucks on. Always my feeling, no matter what, while you have something apart, it's a shame not to clean it. This is only going to take a few minutes. You can see already all the goop that comes off. It's just a habit I got into years ago, and it's worked very well for me. While I have it apart, it's so easy to clean this up. It only takes a few minutes and just makes it that much nicer. When it comes time to put everything back together, I'll double check that it's all clean. I can see inside here by the radiator it could use a little cleanup. In these fork legs here, they could use a little cleanup. You know, gotta understand, it's a really old motorcycle. Like me, it's a lot of maintenance. When you get old, you'll find out. Well, I just put the front stand underneath there just to give it a little support, take some of the weight off the beam for the time that we'll be painting the wheel. Just an extra safety precaution. Now the good news is almost all of the rest of the work of doing this wheel will be down in the cellar where it's nice and warm. But right now we got to head out to BJ's. Now by the time we get back from BJ's, what's going to happen? This wheel will be a lot warmer. It'll hopefully be ambient temperature. I got it sitting right under a heating vent. Now in the beginning of this project, I didn't know how it was going to play out, or how Turbo Steve's Ninja was going to play out, but because we got done under time and under budget, I know I'd have a little time to paint the wheels, and that's going to be obviously the next part of this job. Now, and as Luciano's part has sat overnight, you can see exactly what's happened to it. That's the issue. When I did the paint test, and I saw that little crack that it took a while to develop. It didn't happen instantly. In fact, this was sitting here real nice for a long time. So this is another thing. We have to get the okay from Luciano or what he would like to do. But my feeling is the best thing of that is to sand it all down, reprime it, and start from scratch. Like a house, build a new foundation. Because when it's done, I want it to look like this. I want it to look, in fact, it's going to be a very similar color with the ladders. But I really wouldn't feel comfortable going over that paint at all. Like I said, this is a split or a triple session day. I don't know, but we will get something done today. I just don't know what. Next to Harbor Freight, this is my favorite place to shop, BJ's. Could it be more fun than this? Knowing when I get home that wheel is going to be nice and warm. Yeah, one of the things I love about BJ is buying paper towels in bulk, and we do use them in our household, in my shop. We're going business selling this stuff. Now we're back from BJ's. The wheel is relatively warm relative to what it was before. Now, to share information that's worth sharing, I'm going to go and do this step by step. Because I've restored a lot of wheels, I've painted a lot of wheels, I've learned a lot of good lessons along the way that I'm more than happy to share, and hopefully you'll be able to save some of the grief that I've had. First thing is, before I do anything, simple green, and both sides. We're going to pull the discs eventually, but for right now, I want everything clean. Now, the big mistake you can always make, the biggest mistake in painting anything, number one mistake, is to take something that's dirty and sand it. Because you're taking the silicone and the oil and grinding it into the microscopic and that's why you have fish eyes. One of the reasons, maybe not the only one. So what I always do, I try to pass on the information. Just clean paper towels and just throw them away when you're done. Now, we replaced these brake discs with EBCs, and thank you, Vlad, for purchasing these for me through his business. And it was very nice the way they worked out. They worked out to be, the other ones had 30,000, I think, on them, and they were pretty well warped and twisted, and Some people say I'm warped and twisted. Anyway, step one, I'm going to get as much of this off as I can. But that's only going to be a certain amount of it. And then I have a tool that I bought at Harbor Freight for under $100, a year or so ago, and it's proven to be a great shop tool. My little steam cleaner. It's a small unit, a household unit. It's super useful for cleaning bathrooms and whatever. But boy, is it handy for degreasing part. You can see what comes off. You don't have to be much of a genius to figure it at the beginning of this. Also, what'll happen is by doing this, anything I can get off. This is the front wheel, but the back one there's always some god-awful things floating around the back wheel. Now, part of my plan is I'm going to do a lot of machining and sanding on this rim, because what my goal is to have the whole rim shiny and smooth, much like the FZR bodywork. And that's going to be a lot of time and effort. It's not going to be a rattle can job. It's not going to be, although to be honest, this is one of the things, probably black high gloss Rust-Oleum would probably be appropriate for, as long as you don't put clear on top of it. Or if you do, wait at least a week or whatever. But since we're still in the middle of this issue that we have with Luciano's parts, but the point is, if you have the concept down, that step one is always this part of it, degreasing, getting this off, all of the stuff that comes off when you use simple green or whatever. Now, if it were a little bit warmer outside, I do this job outside because it's a messy job. But even so, I can do it here. It's just going to steam everything up. Now, another thing I wanted to mention, I looked at this tire real close. You can't really see it on the video, but it's got plenty of tread, but it's squared off from me using the front brake really hard and the fact that it's a heavy bike. And so what this tire, if anybody wants this tire for free, I'll take it off carefully, because there's probably some people that could still get some use out of it. But I'm not one of them. Maybe Turbo Steve would like it for his project bike or whatever. It's probably got 3,000 or 4,000 more miles on it, but I want to have a brand new tire, of course, after doing all the work on this. And the EBC rotors couldn't be better. I'm going to get another year out of the pads, I hope. But now to disassemble this wheel and bring it down to where I can really grind and sand on it and get it flat and smooth, and that's going to be a labor of love, that's for sure. So this little tool is on McCullough Steam. It's a steam unit. You can use it for a million things around the house. One thing it really works good on is cleaning car wheels when I do my spring cleaning on the cars. But this brings the wheels up to like brand new. Now the steam unit has this little fuzzy brush on the end, which is replaceable, of course. And this is what I found works the best when you're doing a wheel. I'm going to put some more simple green on. I've tried to get the most of the goop off. It's especially true when you're doing the back wheel. And I do one at a time, it's just personal, I guess. I'm not sure there's any advantage, but. And you got to scrub away at it a little bit, but boy, this gets a lot of stuff you'd never get off with all in the nooks and crannies. And it's really that little brush, and you don't want to obviously put it on your hand. Now, when I'm done with one part of it, this is another, I don't know if the right word is tip or trick or what. Since these parts are anodized, they usually clean up pretty nice. As I say that, I'm looking at these bolts need a good polishing. Actually, everything on this bike, the bike's got over 30,000 miles on it, and the thing is with this bike that's unique to me is I like riding it. It fits me. The seat fits my ass. The handlebars are in the right spot. It seems to be pretty reliable. I mean, relative. I don't know how reliable a 30-year-old bike can be, but and I've had a lot of good fun on the track with it, and a lot of good fun on the street chasing our friends around the park. Now I've got that done. This is the thing, and I'm not going to show everything on camera, but I did it once. This is simple green. And I'll do it again. 4 times. It's time consuming, but every time I do it, you'll see what happens in 1 minute. Now what seems to happen, the second time you do this, you'll see to be less, I call it goop for lack of a better word, and at some point in time, and if it takes 5 times, I don't care. Steam is cheap, by the way. But there's still stuff coming off. I'll do as many times as I have to get this as clean as I have to before I do any grinding, sanding, or even try to take the tire off, because I don't want that grease working its way all around. I don't want it on my clothes and my shoes. So anytime I can get a part out of the garage and get it down in the cellar here, there's just a much better chance I'm going to be able to clean it really efficiently. Now another thing, I have a power washer, and I found the steam cleaner to be just physically better at getting more of the goop off. And what I do, and it really is no secret, you just got to keep doing it over and over and over, and at some point you've gotten rid of almost everything. Now what's good about this unit, I've used it for a lot of other things. It comes with all kind of attachments and even a thing for doing rugs and stuff. It's a handy thing. It was under $100. Another advantage of this is you can really get down in the parts of it that you never clean when you clean the bike. Down in the black hole in space here. And by the way, it's really good if you take the simple green and just let it soak. Go have a cup of coffee. The longer you let it soak, the more it seems to loosen the grime and get rid of all of it. Now with the wheel as clean as I can possibly make it, the next step on this is going to be to get the discs off. These bolts of course are blue Loctited on, so they're not going to spin right out the way you think they are. But of course that's a safety feature, and the good news is we're going to take each one of these over to the polishing wheel, polish them up like brand new, or even better than brand new. But for sure, you never want to not Loctite these bolts. Now, I know this is probably overkill and maybe unnecessary, but it's certainly not going to hurt anything. I have the first disc off, and I want to put them back in the same place that they came off. So what I'm going to do is just with an engraving tool, I guess this is the easiest way to do this. I'm just going to put a little X on this in the back where you don't even see it. And then I'll mark up here on the hub, inside where you won't even see it because it'll be taped over. That goes on that side. Now, I don't know if, I assume the pads that are worn in on this already, they don't have to re-wear in, so there'll be some advantage maybe. But this is really nice and clean now, and we can move on and take any other one off. Now I just want to clean this surface up very, very carefully. In fact, the first thing I ought to do, just carefully, I don't want to change the shape of the metal, I just want to clean off the oxidation. It's really overkill just for me. I just don't want to have it. And actually, I think what I ought to do is before I do the rest of this, I'll tape off this middle piece here, just so no dirt goes down in there. And it's probably a good idea to do that. It's certainly not going to hurt anything. Now the reason I wanted that clean, and I'll go over that with some acetone, because we're going to have to tape this whole surface off. The disc rests on that, and I don't want to, obviously no paint or anything on it, so that whole piece will ultimately get masked off. And anytime you're in doubt, how dirty these parts get after 30 years. This is all oxidation, grease, grit, road salt. But we have hopefully brought it back to where it's, and when we're done, hopefully going to be better than new. And all of this will be somewhere other than on the motorcycle. Yeah, that's good. Now I can backmask that off whenever I want to. Yeah, they cleaned up really nice. Actually, the whole disc is like brand new. So the next step on this, flip it over, pull a disc off the other side. Pretty much a repeat of everything we did on this side. But I can see already, this material has really, it's going to take a lot of grinding and sanding, and here's what it is. They put some kind of clear coating on top of this. I'm sure there's a clear coating like many Japanese manufacturers have, but over here they didn't clear coat it, or it's worn off. So that's going to well, it's going to be a big job to remove it, but you know, a job like this, there's no way you can do this. It's a labor of love. But when you're done, I always say the biggest thing you can do to customize a motorcycle is the paintwork. Second biggest thing is the wheels. And we're going to have both. And the last thing I'm going to get done today, and this was a split session day. I usually try to sequence up what best I can get. But having this done, we're ready to pull a tire. Tomorrow, if it's going to be a shop day, we don't know. What you don't see on this video is some of the health issues we have and doctor visits, and at my age, wow, things are falling apart. And we try to make the most of it, but anyway, I want to some prep wool in here, get this side backmasked. From now that I've seen this up close and personal, I realize this is going to be a lot more work than I thought it was in the beginning, because the back wheel has these pieces polished already, and I want to have, obviously I want to have them polished, so we're going to have to get out the grinders and figure out how many hours and some sandpaper and whatever. But you know what? Any job like this, if you start keeping track of the time, you really won't enjoy it. You got to do like the Italians. You got to do it as if time did not exist. Now, considering this was such a crazy day and we got I have enough paper towels. It's ridiculous. I love going to BJ's. I love inventory. Okay, so that's just got to be backmasked off. We get that side done. We are well on our way to having this wheel restored. No, we're actually running out of space here in the shop to put this stuff again. There's nothing new about that. So I hope you enjoyed the video, and we're going to work on this wheel next chance we get. It looks like this is going to be a true labor of love. Hope you'll enjoy sharing it with us. Thanks for watching.